Because otherwise you're like the medical student. You know, you're not complete yet. You're in training, but maybe if he wants to operate on you, not sure. Let him finish his training first. So it's good that they sit. So while they sit, they're not benefiting anybody. But they develop their mind. So while the medical student goes to school, he's not benefiting anybody directly, but he's training his mind to be a doctor. Does that make sense? Okay, so these two bodhicittas, I'm just mentioning it so then maybe you go to Teaching of His Holiness, or Lingam Puche is coming soon, and then maybe, you know, they only give like short public talks. At least then you know what they're talking about. And something will wake up in your mind, maybe. Yeah, so for those people who are new, you don't need to totally go into what is what. This is just those very experienced students here who always also go into details. So that's what it is. First you learn in a very gross way, and then you go further and further and further. Yeah. So it's especially the new students who think that they have understood everything, and then you continue with your practices, and all of a sudden they think like, I don't understand anything. The more I study emptiness, the more I understand that I don't understand. Yeah? And that's a good sign, actually, because it makes you go further. The moment you think, I know, that's it, you're blocked. And if you think, if a thought comes up, oh yeah, I know that, but you still suffer, yes, you haven't understood. Yeah? Okay, so in order to be able or in order to develop bodhicitta, you also need a few things, you know, before you go into these practices. You need to see the cause. You need to see the benefit of developing bodhicitta, because it's difficult. Yeah, and if you can't see the benefit, but you want to see the benefit, then you would read texts like by Kunu Lama, for example, a praise to bodhicitta. Or you would read again and again and again the first chapter of the Bodhicharyavatara. Yeah? Or you would discuss with others what is the benefit of bodhicitta. Can you imagine if people on this planet would decide, okay, I think that's a good idea. I want to benefit all sentient beings, not just my own group. What kind of influence would that have on the world? We would still not be realized, but at least the interest would be there to try to benefit all sentient beings. Not all at the same time, but without discrimination. Do you think that would have a good influence on the world or a bad one? It's obvious, yeah? That's why Lama Zopa says, you know, bodhicitta would be the answer, even if you're not realized. But then we go, yeah, okay, I develop bodhicitta, but then the other one also has to. And then we can wait a long time, because everybody thinks like that. Yeah? I do it when others do.
My difficulty, you assuming that, sorry, it's not the right word, but I don't have another. That the ultimate will teach the emptiness.
Not exactly, but...
or rather, he realized himself able to realize the emptiness.
Yeah.
However, the people that he would teach or help are already at the level seeking to understand emptiness. Shouldn't he
it can be helping a child getting... It can be helping...
Start with the conventional first?
It goes together, the two things.
Because
if you, otherwise you get stuck in conventional reality and everything becomes very, very solid and very true. You do both at the same time.
You fluctuate between the two.
Yeah.
Depending on
that's what we're doing. We're going back to... Is that okay?
No, that's I can accept that.
This is why it goes together. The same way, you cannot separate conventional reality from ultimate reality.
Right.
If you have something that exists, it needs to be empty, otherwise it cannot exist. You see, if things would exist from their own side, without any causes, they could not exist. But because they don't exist, from their own side means independent, not needing causes. That means that plant would have had to be a plant since beginningless times, and it could never be anything else. From their own side means without any other causes and conditions. They could not exist. Nothing exists like that. Nothing. Or can you think of a thing that exists without something else for it to come into existence? But this is what our mind projects, that things, yes, they do exist that way. This is our active ignorance. You see, when I talked about why do we suffer because we have lacking awareness, it's not exactly the right word, because ignorance and lacking awareness, because this lacking awareness is a wrong awareness. This ignorance is an active ignorance. It's not just a not knowing. It adds something that is not there. Now we're on the sixth perfection, whereas I have to start with the first. It's okay. But, okay, you need to see the benefit of developing bodhicitta. So you could, for example, think, what do you think? If you try to work on your mind to become more compassionate, do you think that would benefit also others? Okay, so if you don't want to do it for yourself, you can think, okay, I'll do it for others, for example. Sometimes it's really good that, for me, to really, when I'm kind of unpleasant or get angry or whatever, for me, I need to sit down and really tell myself, I am sick and tired to react in this way. And I'm strong enough to tell that to myself, that I'm an idiot, and why did you do it again, and really be very firm with myself. It's okay. And to use quotes like, you know, in the 7 points, don't do this, do that, don't do this, do that. I find this very helpful, because I want to change. I want to be compassionate. Yeah? So if you see the benefit of it, that will help you to bear the difficulties of developing it. So that's one of the things we need. In terms of bodhicitta, then I know it sounds a bit strange, but you need to have devotion to the Buddha, because there's no other philosophy who actually teaches enlightenment in that way. So if you want that kind of enlightenment, you need to have devotion to the Buddha. Yeah, there's other philosophies that talk about enlightenment, that is true, but when you look at the definition, it's not the same, and I don't know the differences, so don't ask. Okay?
Can't you just take this philosophy but put it under different image? It says in the Buddha. Just take the philosophy.
You can try, I don't know. Why not take the Buddha? What's wrong about the Buddha?
Asking, because I have different beliefs at the moment, so...
Yeah. Okay, but then you have to see that it does not conflict. You see, very often it conflicts with other views, like the view of Hinduism, that there's an Atma.
Yeah.
Doesn't fit that one at all. There is no Atman in Buddhism. And that's the enlightened state. When you see that there's only continuity, because an Atman is permanent, independent and partless. And that's being denied in Buddhism. So you can't mix these two. Then you need to see what fits me better, and then you go that way. And then you can't call it bodhicitta. Then you call it whatever it's called in the other philosophy. And that's fine.
But you can still take the principles of being enlightened for other people in
Yeah.
a way.
But you won't attain enlightenment without seeing the absence of Atmas. But I don't want to, I prefer not to go there, because I don't want to destroy your belief in what you are believing. Okay? Devotion to the Buddha. Seeing the suffering of sentient beings is also something that is good to see, so that we have compassion and we want to liberate them. What we also need is the inspiration of a spiritual master, somebody who really lives that. Somebody who's been, for example, in prison for 17 years and tortured and whatever, and has zero anger and hate towards the torturers. That I find inspiring, because I've seen it. Zero hate, zero anger, zero tension. It's finished. That's it. Like the Dalai Lama says, wow, you know, the Chinese army took my country. What happened? I had to come out. I got so many new friends. I learned about science, which I never would have learned in Tibet. I'm able to let go of ideas which don't confirm with science. He talks like that. He talks about the good thing that came out of it. Yeah. So, and that, I find that very inspiring. That, you know, the proof that you can let go of very traumatic experiences like this and having no anger and no hang-ups about those things. But yeah, you need to, then where does it come from? From these teachings. You know, now the young Tibetans, they're not like that. It's not that the Tibetans have it in their genes. It came from this good reaction to this invasion of the Chinese army came from having practiced this since young age. That's why it didn't damage them long term. And then what you also need is the fearlessness to bear the hardships of practicing this, of training this. It's hard, it's difficult, you have to give up on things. So you need to know your own suffering, wanting to be free from it, and then you just expand this attitude to all beings. The same way as if I don't have children, my attitude is I don't want to be free from I want to be free from suffering. I put a lot of effort into being free from suffering. Yeah? And when I have children, that attitude expands onto them very naturally. Because I label them my children. Now, when you hear that point, every being has been a mother to me, a good mother to me at one point, all of a sudden everybody becomes my mother. But then you switch, kind of, you are first you are the child, feeling grateful to the mother. But then when you start to practice, you switch, and you become the mother who looks at others as your children when you train and when you practice. You see what I mean? Because attitude child, mother, child is different. A mother does everything for her child, a child not necessarily. But in order to have that close feeling to all beings, which I don't have, you know, I'm not claiming that I have it. I would love to have it. And you can see that some people have it, also non-Buddhists have it. They approach everybody totally open, totally free, totally fearless, totally friendly, because they feel close to everybody, spontaneously. Do you know somebody like that? Would you be like that? Would you like to be like them? Me, definitely. They're so relaxed all the time. They're in such good moods all the time. The Dalai Lama is one of those. He touches people, he kisses the Pope also. Now, the actual Pope that we're having, he also has this attitude. You know? It's not, and you can see whether it's real or not real. And I think with Pope, what's his name, Francisco, it's also genuine. This love for all beings, whether they're high beings or low beings or prisoners, whatever. Yeah? So this we can take as an inspiration. I want to become like them. And then you can go, then I become famous. Not because of that. Yeah. Because again, it can be self-concerned because, wow, they seem to be so much at ease, even though both of them have really difficult jobs. Especially the Pope at the moment, with all the abuse that is now coming out in all the countries. You know? Wow. And still, he seems to be relaxed, but he is trying to do something about it. But you need the cooperation of all the others also, that they come out with it and don't put it under the carpet. So we kind of, this concern, this closeness, you kind of try to spread it to all beings with this view of everybody has been my mom, everybody has been kind to me. Yeah. First time when I heard this, I said, yeah, but that also means everybody has been not kind to me. That's also true. But since we want to develop compassion and closeness, we have to look at only that side. We have to forget about the negative things and we think about the positive things. You see what I mean? If you want to develop hate, then of course you think, you at one point, you must have been my murderer, and you must have been my torturer, and you must have... We've all been murderers, torturers, abusers, victims. Everybody. We've gone through everything. And that view really helps when you start to believe in rebirth. You know, that you're not freezing everything into this life. My life is finished because my child died. But you've had other lives. And you will have other lives where conditions will be different. Yeah? Whereas if you freeze everything into this one lifetime, what a responsibility to be happy. It's terrible. What a responsibility to achieve everything you want to achieve in one lifetime. It's awful. That's why we're so stressed. Because we want to have everything in one lifetime. It's too much. It's too much. It's too stressful. Okay. So when you start to engage and you have, you practice it, you studied it for a while and you think, yes, I want to practice that path. And then you take the Bodhisattva vows, which, as I said, it's a set of guidelines how to practice the 6 perfections. So we're going to look at them. We have 10 more minutes. I know we have after the break also, I think. So it's page 11. So the first one is generosity. Usually when we think about generosity, we think about giving material things. And that here is the first thing, because it seems to be, for the Asians, it's the easiest. For the Westerners, I'm not so sure. You see, why is it so easy for Asians to be generous? Because they know about karma. And they believe in karma. So they know whatever I give, at one point it will come back. They're not doing it necessarily out of this reason, but they're doing this with the joy of giving, knowing that this is a very good investment. Again, they're not having it here, they're having it here. But then the mistake, what they are doing, so for them they have levels of where it gives more than other. I'm not saying they're pure, whatever, we all have hang-ups and make mistakes. So for them, the highest level, the most that will come back is holy objects, because it's the Buddha. So then if you want to build a temple or a monastery, even here in the West, monastery or a center, go and ask Asian people for money, not Westerners. If you want to build a hospital or a school, ask Westerners for money, not the Asians. That's how it is. So you need to know what you want to make. Like the Vietnamese in Germany, like the few German nuns were saying, we don't have a nunnery, blah, blah, blah. So they heard it, the Vietnamese. They said, you need money. Whoop, the money came. Because it was a nunnery. Very generous when it comes down to holy objects. Yeah. Lay centers, I'm not so sure. But when it's ordained people, because an ordained person is much stronger field of merit than a lay person. Yeah. So, okay, giving material things, giving freely, giving without holding anything back, giving protection. That can be, you see somebody in the Chinese, because you also start to have Chinese people here now. Chinese with, looking at signs, cannot read it, and seems to be lost in somewhere, and you ask, may I help you? Huh?
These 2 people that came.
Yeah, where were they from?
Russia.
Russia? Okay, Russia. So you help them. You're not just saying, get out of here. You go out. You try to make yourself understood. That's giving protection, because they were lost somehow, isn't it? Simple stuff like this. And then, of course, if you can protect somebody with your body by going in front of them because they're about to be killed, if you think you can do it without getting angry, by all means do. But, my teacher always said, you people here don't give your bodies yet. You are not ready. You would regret it. Yeah. Give away, there is not enough food. Give away your food first. And then, if you keep practicing, you will be able to give away your food the same way that you would be able to give away your body the same way you're able to give away your food. And he was talking about situation, giving away food when there's not enough. That is generosity. You say, okay, it's only 1 cup, you have it, and I'm left with nothing. To train the mind to be happy to do that. Let the other have it. I don't need it. Put the happiness of others in front of us. Yeah. And then the third one seems that's the easiest for Westerners, giving Dharma. Telling others what they should do so that they can be happy. This we're very ready to do. That's the best giving, actually, but they need to ask for it. This is why there's always this thing. When I'm not supposed, and I don't do it also, to send out emails to groups saying, oh, I'm a Dharma teacher, I'm here, shall I come and teach? You have to be requested to come and teach. That's also changing a little bit lately, actually. So that's where it comes from. Yeah. So also as a nun, between nuns we have a vow not to criticize others, or if we need to say something, to approach the person and say, I've seen something, I heard something, or I suspect something. Are you ready to hear it? And if the person says, no, not now, then that's it, you don't say anything. This is very good. Before we start criticizing somebody else, we can ask, would you like to hear what I have to say? With the readiness that if they say no, you shut up and you let go. They don't want to hear it. It can be very hurtful when people constantly come to tell us how we should be. Because that's the signal. They don't like me the way I am. I have to change. Yeah, so Dharma. Is that clear? These are usually the 3 kinds of things that you give. And when it's material, and not just with the material things, like you look, is it the right time to give it? Is it the appropriate object to give it? Is it the appropriate recipient to receive it? Yeah, so you use your wisdom there. Okay? So if there's a terrorist, you wouldn't give him your gun, for example. Okay? If somebody wants to commit suicide also, you wouldn't give him a weapon. Try to protect that person. Like that. Yeah. Clear? I mean, there's much more to be said on this. We can also, one year we did the course just on the 6 perfections. Then we can really go into details. Ethical conduct. So now the ethical conduct of a bodhisattva is different from the ethical conduct in the lower level. Ethical conduct in the lower level is you stop harming others. Ethical conduct of a bodhisattva is, of course, stop harming others, but that's the first step, that's just one thing. You purify your negative actions that you have already done. You create virtue or positive energy, and then you help others. Okay? So if you have bodhisattva vows and you're not helping, even though you could help, and it would be beneficial that you help, you don't need to go and collect every homeless person on the street, because one thing is not beneficial and your house is not big enough. And you chase away your children and your partners, maybe, most probably. Yeah. So that means actually you're breaking one of those vows if you mindlessly just pass by. At least you could have the thought, I wish I could help. Then the vow is no problem. But otherwise it's like, But also you go in these steps. First you learn to really stop harming others. Because otherwise how can you help them? If there's a lot of self-concern there. Yeah. Then you purify the negative actions that you have, the imprints that you have already committed. Why? Because if your life is very difficult, it's very difficult to help others. Very difficult. Almost impossible. If you can't even help yourself, how are you going to help others? How? If we don't even know how to make ourselves happy constantly, Who are we to tell others what they should do to be happy? So we purify negative imprints so that your life becomes quite easy. Yeah. Then creating virtue, again, that is Buddhist, so you give money to the temple, that's the Buddhist one. You give money to the temple, you give money here and there. But don't forget, how is karma created? From the object out there, or your approach to it. If you think it's stupid to give money to the temple, it will not give you a lot of positive karma. If you think it's more beneficial to give money to hospitals and schools, or or an organization who is helping homeless people or whatever, then by all means, give it there. Creating virtue. Here usually it is said we create virtue with the Buddha because we don't expect the Buddha to say thank you, or to honor us, or to invite us to their charity dinners because we have given something or whatever. This is the problem when we are very generous with institutions. We want our name outside on a plaque. Here, shall we put Leora's name because she did the altar? Shall we make a plaque with Leora's name? Leora in the Lamrim course 2018 did the offerings to the Buddha. The Buddha would find it totally ridiculous. And Leora probably also. But if you give a lot of money to an institution, you expect something back. This is why it's quite safe to do it with the Buddhas, because he's not going to say thank you to me when I prostrate in the morning, and I don't expect it also. So I just do it. Yeah, that's creating virtue. And then when you have all these positive energy together, like you're incredibly rich, your life is easier, then you go and help others. But it doesn't mean, okay, now I have to purify my negative karma, I have to stop. The little things, of course, you can do. Yeah? Oh, okay. Patience we do after the break. Okay.
Just a small question. Creating virtue is necessarily about money? If you don't have it?
No, but that's the easiest way for the Asians.
It's easy if you have money.
Yeah, if you have it.
It's easy if you have money.
Yeah. It's the easiest way to be generous and to help. It's so easy. When somebody comes and says, I lost my wallet, I need to go home, I don't have money for the bus, can you please give me the money? It's so easy to help. It's very easy. Somebody says, I am depressed, I am anxious, I'm afraid, I don't know how to help. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you don't have money, then it's not that easy.
You don't have money at all?
No, of course, but you said giving money to a temple, I don't know, 100 shekels won't be that much.
You'll be surprised I give 1 shekel and are very happy about it. You go to a Tibetan monastery, everywhere there's small banknotes lying around. Where is the karma coming from? From the temple or from your joy of giving? Now, if you give 1 shekel and you go like, oh wow, with 1 shekel I can, with 1 shekel I can create so much merit, I don't have to give more, but you could give more. What kind of karma would that be? What do you think?
Not the best one.
Not the best one. Exactly. If you give 1 shekel with the thought, may this gift to the temple become the cause for my Buddhahood, so I can benefit all sentient beings. Wow. If you give the shekel because you want them to build the temple, that's not going to make that much merit, because the positive energy will be finished once they build the temple, and that was the motivation. If you give them the shekel with bodhicitta, this is why we developed this mind of bodhicitta. If you have bodhicitta, all your actions become totally meaningful. Because why? Because it's for the benefit of all sentient beings. Now that the benefit of all sentient beings will only come in the future when you are a Buddha, it doesn't matter. But the intention was for the benefit of all sentient beings. Do you see what I mean? So it's not the amount of money, it's how you give it. Like if you give money to a homeless person, which I think is a good thing to do, because they need it, and they need contact. It's not so much the money, but saying hello very friendly to somebody who doesn't have anything, they're not going to be very happy about this. If you give them something but with